Okay, hello my beautiful lovies, my peeps. Hey Jake, I hope you're keeping up with us, and Kylie, and Eli, and Caleb, and Claire, Lexi and Chloe. They're too little, but Jenna and Emily are with us, I think. They're probably all caught up. Anyway, so glad we're studying the courageous men and women of the Bible, because that's what you boys and girls are going to be too, and that you already are learning how to be courageous. So we left Joseph, and he has become a slave, and you realize a slave has no rights. You have to do whatever your master wants you to do. So how do you think Joseph must have felt? He was only a teenager. Do you think he was scared? You betcha he was. But he believed in God, and that was the difference between him and his brothers. He had a deeper relationship with God, and he knew God. And so we're going to see if he was able to be courageous, even though he was taken captive as a slave and sold by his own brothers. You know, that made him very, very sad, and very sad to be away from his father as well. So let's see what happens today. Today we're in Genesis chapter 39, verse 1. When Joseph was taken to Egypt by the Ishmaelite traders, he was purchased by Potiphar. So they sold him, and Potiphar bought him. And he was an Egyptian officer. Potiphar was captain of the guard for Pharaoh, so he was a very important man, because Pharaoh was the king of Egypt. Now listen to verse 2. Remember in Joshua when it says, God said, "Be strong and courageous, for I will be with you wherever you go"? Listen to verse 2. The Lord was with Joseph. So no matter where you go, God's going to be with you. Even when other people do things wrong, God is still with you. He was still with Joseph, wasn't he? And look what happened. Because God was with him, he succeeded in everything he did, as he served in the home of his Egyptian master. So instead of being sad and becoming bitter and angry and rebellious and a bad slave, Joseph chose to believe God, that he was with him, and he was the best slave that he could be. Even though it was a bad situation, he was a good worker, and God blessed him for it. Now, do you think Potiphar noticed what a good slave he was, what a good servant he was? You betcha he did. Look at verse 3. Potiphar noticed this and realized that the Lord was with Joseph, giving him success in everything he did. This pleased Potiphar, so he soon made Joseph his personal attendant. That means he wanted him close by, and Joseph did things for him personally, not just for the home, but for him personally. He put him in charge of his entire household and everything he owned. You know, he was probably a wealthy man as well. So that means he trusted Joseph, because Joseph was a good servant. He did what he was told, and he did it well. Verse 5. From the day Joseph was put in charge of his master's household and property, the Lord began to bless Potiphar's household for Joseph's sake. How cool is that? When God blesses us, he blesses the people around us too. So if you go to work for someone and God's blessing you and helping you to do a good job, that owner is going to be blessed as well. So even, like, let's say at your class, as God blesses you and you are the best student you can be, you're going to bless your whole class. You're going to bless your classmates and your teacher and your school. You're going to be such a blessing. So it's bigger than you. God's blessings will overflow to other people around you. Look what happened. So the Lord began to bless Potiphar's household for Joseph's sake. All his household affairs ran smoothly, and his crops and livestock flourished. That means they multiplied. They did good. So Potiphar gave Joseph complete administrative responsibility over everything he owned. Potiphar didn't worry about anything anymore. He let Joseph take care of all the decisions and everything because he so trusted Joseph. With Joseph there, he didn't worry about a thing, except what kind of food to eat. Joseph was very handsome and well-built young man. That means he was strong. And Potiphar's wife soon began to look at him lustfully. She looked at him in the wrong way. And this is the bad part. She wanted him to do something that was very evil. She wanted him to be with her like her husband should be. And Joseph, we already know what he did. Look, he said no. And look in verse 12. Joseph tore himself away, but he left his cloak in her hand, and as he ran from the house, he ran. So this is something I want you to remember. If you're ever in a situation where someone wants you to do something wrong, she wanted him to do something wrong. Joseph said, no, 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 no. But she kept on trying to get him to do it. And when she grabbed him, you know what he did? He didn't give in and say, okay, I guess I'll do it, even though I know it's wrong. No, he ran away as fast as he could. And so I want you to remember this too, because sometimes you may have a friend or someone at school or you know, it could be anybody. It could even be a family member that wants you to do something that you know is not right. You need to say no, even though you love them, you care about them, or they're putting a lot of pressure on you, making you feel silly because you don't want to do it. Just say no. And if you have to run away or go away from them, then go away from them. Because other people can get you in a lot of trouble. You need to be courageous to say no. So Joseph was not only courageous to be a good slave, he was also courageous to say no, even to his master's wife. See, he had to be obedient in everything, but when he knew it was wrong, he told her no. So let's see what happens. Okay, so basically, let me just tell you the story. She screams and she tells everyone that Joseph did something wrong to her. And so when the husband comes home, his boss, Potiphar, his owner, she tells him that Joseph did something wrong. And now look in verse 19. Potiphar was furious when he heard his wife's story about how Joseph had treated her. So he took Joseph and threw him into the prison where the king's prisoners were held, and there he remained. So Potiphar, even though he trusted Joseph, he believed his wife in this situation. He just couldn't believe he would do something like that. And Potiphar didn't show courage to really figure it out, did he? But now Joseph is thrown into prison. Now, do you think he's going to be scared? Who wants to be thrown into jail, into prison, and especially when you did nothing wrong? So it would be really easy to throw a fit and be angry, be bitter, be hateful to everybody and mean to everybody and, you know, just be ugly. But we're going to find out if Joseph was courageous and remembered that God was with him or not. What do you think? We'll find out tomorrow. Okay, I love you guys. Be courageous.